First tonight, the Madison City Council tackling a number of issues, including the possible redevelopment of a busy downtown intersection. Widespread flooding now responsible for at least 2 deaths in Wisconsin, with more chances for rain this week. And later, 2 alders want Madison to become one of the first cities in the country to stand up against the government separation of families.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. It is one of the busiest intersections in the downtown area, and tonight city alders are meeting to discuss upgrades for it. It's the intersection just off John Nolan Drive where Williamson, Blair, and Wilson Street all converge. Accidents here are not rare, and city engineers want that to change. Our Keely Arthur was at tonight's council meeting and joins us live now with what was discussed. Keely?
Well, Charlotte, Madison council members just wrapped up their discussion, ending it with a unanimous yes. Now, this project costs $4 million. $2 million will come from the city, but city engineers say it's well worth the investment. Now, this redesign will change the intersection of John Nolan, Blair, Willie, and Wilson Street. Tens of thousands of people travel every day. Now, the new design includes plans to add left turn lanes on John Nolan to Wilson and Blair to Willie, and shift the driveway leading into Machinery Row closer to the Monona Terrace, further away from that busy intersection. Now, the leader of the project says this plan is 2 years in the making.
What we try to do is try to take everybody's input over the last 2 years, put it together, and try to come up with a design that works best for all. In this case, we really emphasize the peds and bikes in the intersection.
Now, plans to make this more biker and pedestrian friendly include larger sidewalks and bike lanes and rerouting the nearby bike path so cyclists can avoid crossing into traffic altogether. Now, some neighbors have complained that this doesn't do enough to cut down on traffic in residential areas. They introduced an amendment tonight that was also approved that requires the city to make some minor changes, including adding a bike and pedestrian button on East Wilson Street. I just spoke with the city engineer. He says he thinks he can make those changes, and a budget for this plan will be approved this fall. Construction, Charlotte, will start in 2019. Back to you.
Keely Arthur reporting live tonight. Keely, thank you. A proposal for a new vehicle registration fee was introduced at tonight's meeting as well. Mayor Paul Soglin says the $17 per vehicle tax in the city could cover transportation costs and free up general fund dollars to cover an expected budget shortfall next year. This fee would be on top of the recently approved $28 county-wide wheel tax set to go into effect this fall. The proposal will now go to subcommittees before being reintroduced at council. And before tonight's council meeting, the executive committee approved a new design for the Madison flag. Some Native Americans in the community have voiced concerns with the current sun symbol at the center of the flag. They say it is a sacred symbol for the Zaya Pueblo tribe based mainly in New Mexico. The new design approved today replaces the sun with a gold circle. The full council will vote on the change next month. 2 inmates who escaped a minimum security prison earlier yesterday morning in northeastern Wisconsin have been captured by Dane County deputies. Officers spent much of the day in the Mazomanie area after receiving 2 possible sightings for 27-year-old James Heather and 25-year-old Alexander Weinman. Deputies say they called off the search around 3 o'clock, but around 7:30 tonight said the 2 were apprehended. A silver alert has been issued tonight in Monroe County for a missing man, 70-year-old Michael Bates. He is on foot and was last seen on the Toma VA campus. He is 6'4" with a beard and mustache and was last wearing a blue jacket and sunglasses. A part of Fort Atkinson is without power right now. We Energy says about 5,600 customers are affected. You can see the 2 locations on the map there. It was first reported just after 7:30 tonight. We Energy says it is an equipment issue. Turning to weather now, let's check in with meteorologist Dave Caulfield in the Weather Center with your first alert forecast. Dave?
Charlotte, a couple of patches of drizzle are outside across southern Wisconsin, but that's about it. A lot of that rain activity still closer to the Minnesota and Iowa state line. And we can see in downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam still a lot of clouds with us and maybe some patchy fog or drizzle. Right now, temperatures are in the mid-60s, 65 to be exact. East wind at 8 miles per hour. That dew point in the low 60s. Temperatures really haven't moved today. In fact, highs were about 20 degrees cooler than they were yesterday. Right now at 64 in Janesville, 67 in Lone Rock, and 68 in Boscobel and Mineral Point. Dew points are still in the mid to upper 60s across the area, so feeling a little bit on the humid side. Wind speeds out of the north and east at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and that's where they'll stay throughout the overnight hours. Your day planner for tomorrow starting off near 60 with plenty of clouds. Slight chance of a shower and storm, but maybe, just maybe, some sunshine toward the afternoon with temperatures in the mid-70s for highs. We'll map out our next chances for rain and talk about some warmer temperatures on the way for next week in your First Alert forecast.
Thank you, Dave. 2 deaths in Wisconsin have now been attributed to the storm this weekend that caused widespread flooding. The Sawyer County Sheriff's Office says the storm toppled a large tree onto a camper on Lake Chautauqua, killing a man inside. The storms and flooding also caused the death of a 75-year-old man whose body was found not far from his pickup truck along a flooded road in Ashland County. And in Rock County, crews are cleaning up after storms in Janesville left flooding and downed trees. On Janesville's east side, a tree fell on top of a house after being knocked down by wind and rain. Luckily, no one was home at the time. Officials say the rain scheduled for later this week won't be as forceful. Dane County leaders are hoping to limit the damage from the excessive rain. They have declared slow, no-wake restrictions for several lakes in our area. Orders for Lake Monona, Waubesa, and Kegonsa are effective immediately. And as we continue through this wet start to June, check out our free Channel 3000 weather app for the latest forecast on the go. It includes our 12-hour and 10-day forecast. Just search Channel 3000 in the App Store. The United States is pulling out of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Ambassador Nikki Haley is calling it an organization that is not worthy of its name. Haley and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made the announcement today. She says a year ago she made clear the U.S. would stay in the council only if essential reforms were made, which she says were not. But Haley says that if the council does reform, the United States would be happy to rejoin. President Trump met with House Republicans this evening as backlash over his zero-tolerance policy on illegal immigration intensifies. That policy so far has resulted in more than 2,300 children being taken from their parents. President Trump insists the separation issue requires a legislative fix, which was the topic of tonight's meeting. 2 Madison alders are trying to let the Trump administration know that the city does not condone what's happening along the Mexican border. Amy Reed spoke to one of the alders to see how he hopes to send the message. Amy?
Maurice Cheek said he and another alder were planning on presenting a resolution tonight at the Common Council meeting. It calls on our congressman to stop the current practice of separating children from their parents and support legislation that would end the zero-tolerance policy that brought us here. Maurice Cheeks hopes for full support tonight. He and Alder Shiva Bidar plan to introduce a resolution calling on our president and congressmen, specifically Senator Ron Johnson, who sits on the Homeland Security Committee.
He has the absolute ability to be able to speak out on behalf of us in that capacity and say, you know what, this doesn't square with the values of my constituents in Wisconsin and in Madison, and for that matter, the values of the American people.
In the resolution, Cheeks and Shiva asked Congress and the Trump administration to stop the current practice of separating children from their parents at the border, and they want the president to take responsibility for instituting the policy. Rabbi Bonnie Margulis supports this. She works with an immigrant advocacy group, and she thinks people trying to come to America have been through enough.
They're making the most dangerous trek across 1,000 miles with their families, with their kids, because conditions are so terrible back where they live, and this is not a deterrent, it's just cruelty.
Cheek says as Americans, we can and should do better, and adds you don't have to be a parent to understand.
It's easy to say, as a father, this matters to me. I have 2 young children at home. I can't possibly put myself in the mentality to be able to think about the heartache and rage, but Everyone at one point in time was a child. And so we have to be able to relate to human dignity for children.
We've reached out to Senator Ron Johnson about the resolution. His team responded, saying Senator Johnson is working with his colleagues to find a legislative solution to this issue that keeps families together and does not encourage additional illegal immigration. The Common Council is expected to vote on this next week, and if it passes, Madison would be one of the first cities in the nation to do this.
Story we will continue to follow to the very end. Amy Reed reporting tonight. Amy, thank you. Governor Scott Walker says the Trump administration's decision to separate children from parents at the border is a federal issue. Some are criticizing his decision to deploy more than 20 Wisconsin National Guard troops to Arizona to help secure the border. A spokeswoman for the governor says anyone with concerns should contact their federal lawmakers. 2 Janesville businesses are set to close, impacting around 200 jobs this summer. Daniels of Janesville and Arian Specialty Brands will close in the coming months. The closure of Daniels will permanently terminate 49 employees starting August 15th. Arian said they will be permanently closing their South Wright Road location on March 31st, 2019. Affecting 141 jobs. And here in Madison, more upcoming layoffs. Roche Molecular Systems on the west side will let go of 79 employees by or around the end of the year. Foxconn says it's investing in a $30 million recycling system that will significantly reduce the amount of water its new plant will take from Lake Michigan. Today, the company says that the zero liquid discharge system will virtually eliminate the return of manufacturing wastewater into the nearby lake. In April, the state DNR approved a request to draw 7 million gallons of water a day from Lake Michigan. New tonight, police are looking for this man. They say he robbed the Associated Bank in East Troy just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. They say he then left in his car, which is pictured right there on the right side of your screen. Anyone with information on who he is asked to call police. Milwaukee Bucks player Sterling Brown has filed a federal lawsuit today accusing Milwaukee police officers of discriminating against him following his controversial arrest for a parking violation.
This federal lawsuit reflects the fact that for too long in this city, African-American men have been arrested, abused, and, as in the case of Dontre Hamilton, killed as a result of bad police work.
Brown's attorney, Mark Thompson, speaking there. He says videos of the incident show excessive force was used by the police. That video shows Brown being taken down, tased, and punched while on the ground. Still to come tonight, a Wisconsin sailor killed during the attack on Pearl Harbor will finally be laid to rest this month. And later, tickets to the 2018 CrossFit Games now on sale. A preview of this year's event coming up. Welcome back. A Wisconsin sailor who died at Pearl Harbor will be laid to rest more than 75 years after his death. Navy pharmacist mate First Class John Schoonover of Port Edwards was among the 429 crewmen who died aboard the USS Oklahoma. His son, who lives in Florida, says his remains were recently identified. A funeral will be held in Pensacola later this month. Tickets are officially for sale for the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games. The games will be held from August 1st through 5th at the Aligned Energy Center. There will be 560 athletes from around the world competing for the title of Fittest on Earth. Officials said last year more than 70,000 people attended the event, generating $12 million in spending throughout Dane County. Wisconsin hunters killed nearly 39,000 turkeys during this year's spring season, the second smallest harvest in the last 10 years. The Department of Natural Resources say the agency sold more than 210,000 permits. And meteorologist Dave Caulfield is here with a look at your forecast.
A couple of showers still may be left over as we head into the next couple of hours for southern Wisconsin, but a lot of it is just drizzle, so that's good news. We don't have to worry about a lot of rain, but we've been blaming a lot on the rain recently to channel some Milli Vanilli here. So here is the recent atmospheric setup. We have high pressure over the nation's midsection, and that's helping tropical moisture kind of ride around that ridge of high pressure, bringing us some pretty brutal dew points over the past couple of days in the mid-70s. Not good. And also a stationary front has helped storms form right along that, and it's like a runway at the airport, folks. These planes, or in this case storms, just run right through it and they rain themselves out. Not a lot to help push them in either direction, so a lot of rain falling over the last week and a half for southern Wisconsin and northern Wisconsin for that matter, with all that flooding taking place in the Northwoods. And unfortunately, this type of setup really kind of leads to more flooding if nothing changes. So hopefully we can get some changes over the next couple of days. Our departure from normal, you saw on our last graphic, Rockford almost 9 inches of rain already in June, and we are about an inch and a half ahead of schedule in Madison. Doppler track is fairly quiet this evening, so that's at least some good news. Any showers or storms are well to our west, and I think they're going to stay there, folks. That's at least the good news I have to share with you. Still some clouds and drizzle out there. We've had 13 out of 19 days so far in June with at least some sort of rain. That's on pace for about 20 out of 30 days. We last saw that in 2014. That was the 5th wettest June on record. But just 2 years before that, only 11 out of 30 days in June had any rain, and that was the driest June on record. So it can definitely go both ways, folks. That is for sure. High temperature trend over the week ahead. Summer in just a couple of days. Not feeling exactly summer-like. Temperatures actually a little bit below average, but we will get back into the 80s by next week, I think. So June 21st at 5:07. Mark those alarms and mark those calendars for sure. And that's, of course, the time of the year with the most daylight. Hopefully we could see some of that daylight in the form of sunshine, but maybe some more showers coming our way. Temperatures right now are in the 60s and 50s. Dew points also in the 60s as well. Wind out of the north and east at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, so not too bad. Tonight, few showers and mostly cloudy with temperatures near 60. For tomorrow, not as cool, maybe a shower and thunderstorm. Can't be ruled out with highs in the mid-70s. Future track showing not too much happening overnight tonight as we head into tomorrow. The clouds still with us, but maybe, just maybe, folks, a little bit of sunshine comes our way. That would be nice with highs in the mid-70s. Again, can't rule out a shower or storm, but our better storm chances come back as we head into late Thursday and early Friday morning. So we'll watch out for that. Definitely can't give our umbrellas too long of a break with this setup that we have in town. Temperatures in the 80s as we head into next Sunday. Sunday and Monday look dry, folks. So if you have any outdoor plans, let's try and squeeze them in then, because the humidity and rain chances and storm chances come back for the middle of next week. You know it's true.
Blame it on the rain.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Thank you. Vince Beagle says Jim Leonard keeps showing up on highlights in the Packers film study room. He'll explain why in sports.
Brewers are getting rid of ineffective relief pitcher Boone Logan. They've designated him for assignment, meaning he'll likely be traded or released in the next 10 days. Tonight in Pittsburgh, the Brewers get more runs in their first 3 at-bats than they did all last night. Jesus Aguilar, 2-run homer off Jamison Talion. Aguilar drives in a 3rd run with a double in the 3rd. And Freddie Peralta, who was called up from Colorado Springs for the start tonight, was spectacular. 6 shutout innings on 2 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Final score, Brewers 3, Pirates 2. The Cubs are playing a day-night doubleheader at Wrigley Field against the Dodgers. L.A. won the day part on a 2-out, 2-run double by Kyle Farmer. Dodgers won that first game 4-3. It's 1-1 in the 10th in tonight's game. The American Family Insurance Championship is just days away, and this year there's a new charitable partner, Birdies to End Alzheimer's. This cause is very personal to the longtime voice of Badger hockey, Paul Brown. Paul's wife, Karen, lived with early onset Alzheimer's for 8 years before the disease took her life in 2015. So this week, you can pledge any amount of money for every birdie made at the AmFam Championship, as little as a dime or as much as several dollars. And 100% of the proceeds go directly to Alzheimer's research at UW Health, so that someday, maybe, no one has to go through what Paul and Karen did.
You just have to come to the realization that the Karen that I loved and married was gone. She was probably gone 2 or 3 years before she eventually passed away. And you just have to realize that what she is doing, the memories she's forgotten, the fact that she doesn't remember your name anymore, that's not her. That's not the Karen that I fell in love with and married.
If you'd like to contribute to Birdies to End Alzheimer's, you can get more information logging on to birdies2endalz.com, or you can go to Melissa's story posted on the sports section of our website on channel3000.com. The Packers are still getting used to all the changes in their coaching staff and front office. They're finding out some interesting connections. Former Badger and now second-year Packer Vince Beagle says new defensive coordinator Mike Pettin coached current Badgers defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard during his NFL days. Leonhard's NFL play from years ago still lives in the Packers film room.
It's been fun to watch him in playing with the Jets and playing with Buffalo, showing up a lot on film. And I was actually down in Madison 2 weekends ago, and I was able to kind of talk with him and let him know that, there's still a lot of respect for you on film and around the halls. People think that, we kind of just show up here and play football, do a few stretches and show up to play. It's really not that easy. I wish it was that simple.
The Las Vegas Superbook put out its odds for teams to reach the college football playoffs this season. Alabama, a heavy favorite. Ohio State and Clemson are almost even money. And the Wisconsin Badgers, not bad, 5-1 odds to make the college football playoff. And the home team doing very well in the World Cup. Russia wins its 2nd straight match in Group A. The Russians beat Egypt 3-1 today. They've outscored their opponents 8-1 in their 2 matches. The other World Cup results today, Senegal surprised Poland 2-1 and Japan shocked Colombia 2-1. And we'll be right back.
check of your forecast.
A little bit of drizzle, maybe a shower or two possible overnight, but Doppler track not really showing all that much, which is good news. We definitely need a break from that rain. A slight chance of a shower or storm into tomorrow, maybe even a little bit of sunshine into the afternoon. Highs will be in the mid-70s. 7-day forecast showing temperatures staying in the 70s, but then dry weather for much of the weekend.
All right, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Do something good, and we'll see you here tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.